A horrifying new look at the brutal slaying of the young Ukrainian refugee in North Carolina. Why was her alleged killer allowed cashless bail after more than a dozen arrests? Plus, gross new evidence released in the Epstein case. The much talked about birthday book is now public, and it's as creepy as you think. And straight out of the Dumb Criminal Hall of Fame, I'll tell you about the woman accused of helping her friend dispose of a body. Authorities nabbed her thanks to a butt dial. Those stories and more today, Wednesday, September 10th. I'm Caitlin Becker, and this is the New York Postcast. First, an update on that horrific story that I told you about yesterday, the grisly murder of a Ukrainian refugee by an ex-con with a mile-long rap sheet in North Carolina. Police released chilling new photos from just seconds after the brutal stabbing took place. You see the victim, Irina Zarutska, curled up in her seat with this look on her face, just pure confusion and disbelief and fear. It almost looks like her brain hadn't even had time to catch up with what had just happened to her body, and the rest of the passengers looked scared and confused. Now, Charlotte's mayor, who was in hot water for seeming more sympathetic to the accused killer than the woman killed, promised increased security on the train line where the murder took place. The Post was there yesterday, and our team didn't see that increased law enforcement presence. We're also learning more about the alleged murderer, DeCarlos Brown Jr. He had been arrested as recently as January, and despite at least a dozen other arrests, was released on cashless bail. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt had this to say about the incident in her briefing.
When Brown was arrested yet again in January of this past year, a Democrat judge, I will add, was a strong supporter of former Vice President Kamala Harris, released this insane criminal once again without requiring him to pay any bail. He simply had to sign a written promise to return for his court hearing. Think about how crazy it is to ask a career criminal, someone who by definition repeatedly breaks the law, to just sign a written promise and come back again another day. This is madness.
Now to a new report spearheaded by HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., which aims to improve the health of American children. RFK is trying to tackle this at all angles, specifically by stopping, quote, illegal vapes, researching screen time addiction, and even overhauling baby formula. This new document notes that Chinese vape suppliers have flooded the market with products that haven't been approved by the FDA, and points out that excessive screen time leads to stress and reduced physical activity. The report also aims to address babies having access to quality nutrition by tightening requirements on formula and to increase the supply of donor breast milk for needy mothers. It also promises to focus on ways to increase fertility rates. Now, the purpose of all this, according to the department, is to help inform future executive orders focused on battling, quote, childhood chronic disease. Now, here's a movie title Hitchcock never envisioned. Butt dial M for murder. 62-year-old Joni Thomas is being accused of helping her friend Dennis William Day dispose of the body of a flight attendant. Now, people joke about their best friend being willing to help them bury a body, but none of us actually think we're going to call in that favor. Well, cops say Dennis Day did call in that favor, and then his bestie accidentally called him back. Joni butt dialed the alleged killer and left a voicemail, which cops say recorded the pair in the midst of a murder cover-up. Dave reportedly admitted to investigators that he had strangled a flight attendant who was last seen in March. Now, authorities say he then called his pal Thomas and asked her to come over and bring her pickup truck. During the investigation, detectives say they discovered what they believe to be a butt-dialed voicemail on Thomas's phone that captures the pair struggling to move a heavy object, and a male voice is heard on the call saying, quote, "Hey, help me, make sure the lid's on," and then say something to the effect of, "I got you all mixed up in this." Now, according to cops, this butthead Bonnie and Clyde hatched a plan to stage a false alibi by leaving their phones behind while they allegedly drove 70 miles to dump the body. Little did they realize the phones themselves were the smoking gun or smoking bum in this case. Now to our big story, the release of the Jeffrey Epstein birthday book. If you haven't heard about this yet, this was a homemade gift for the dead pedophile's 50th birthday back in 2003. It's believed to have been compiled by his good friend and convicted partner in crime, Ghislaine Maxwell. The Wall Street Journal first reported the existence of the item, and it included some bawdy letters from Epstein's famous friends, including Presidents Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. Now, Congress was given a copy of the book this week, and its contents were just made public. President Trump denies that he crafted one of these birthday greetings, one that includes the outline of a naked woman drawn in thick black marker, signed with his name. That signature on the picture, it pretty clearly reads Donald, but the White House says whoever signed it was not the president himself, though the Wall Street Journal claims it is consistent with Trump's signatures at the time. The Post's D.C. bureau chief, Josh Christensen, has been following all of the developments on this story, and he joins me now. Josh, I want to start with the White House denials that President Trump was even a part of this birthday book. What exactly are they claiming here? I mean, his name is in it. They say he didn't write it, but that's his name.
Yeah, the president has already sued the Wall Street Journal for being the first outlet to report on this. And the denials were just as strenuous when this was released by the House Oversight Committee, that neither the signature at the bottom of this, nor the drawing, nor any of the lettering included in this was authored by Donald Trump. They pointed in several cases to signatures by the president that were made around the same time, the 2000s, and disputed the accuracy and said that there were different signatures, although the Journal has pushed back and said their own analysis shows that it's actually rather similar. So this is something that's going to continue to be a legal issue, but at least at the front of it, when Trump was asked by NBC News, he called it a dead issue.
You know, when you're looking at it, it's like on one hand, we know that Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump were at one point pretty friendly, even though Donald Trump the president's been very clear that that relationship is soured. They were definitely friends. On the other hand, I could write his name down on any piece of paper that I possibly wanted. So you can kind of see the push and pull there from what they're saying. But I want to talk a little bit about the content of this book. In light of everything we know about Jeffrey Epstein, when you're looking at this thing, it's pretty repugnant knowing what we know. So did we learn anything new from it?
There were lots of new disturbing details. There were some images, pictures, photographs. I think one that probably made the biggest impression was a drawing of him handing out balloons to young girls. In 1983, it's captioned, and then 2003, in a panel to the right, he's being massaged by nearly nude women, and it says, "What a great country," underneath. And there's many other implications and suggestions by these people who authored the letters to him about his predilection for young women, something which eventually exploded into the mainstream discourse, as he was charged federally. But there are lots of hints here, even before his legal troubles, that this was something that he was definitely plagued by, and something that many of these influential people who considered themselves his friends should have known better and should have seen as something very disturbing.
Yeah, disturbing is definitely the word I would use for it. The content, when you look at it, you wonder who knew what, when, and how much did they know? And I think those are the questions that we really have here. It's really more questions than answers. I don't think that this is going to calm down that group of people who definitely wants all of that Epstein information. They've been obsessed for weeks over this. And this isn't exactly what they've been asking for. They want names. They've been demanding all of the files to this case be released, be made public. So what's the latest on all of that? Do you think they're going to be satisfied with this?
Well, what we know is that there are at least 216 House members that are ready to sign this discharge petition, and they need 218. And there's a indication that there's these two races to replace Democratic members who passed away this Congress, Jerry Connolly in Virginia and Raul Grijalva in New Mexico, or Arizona, excuse me. And once they get replaced, the reps for those members have said they're willing to sign on to this discharge petition. So we could see it voted on before the end of the month.
That's going to be here before we know it. So that'll be just the next twist into this seemingly endless saga that is the Jeffrey Epstein case. Josh, I want to thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Report cards are out, and American students got a big fat F. New test results for the nation's high school seniors show that they're struggling more with math and reading than at any point in the last 30 years. The test, referred to as the National Report Card, was administered to thousands of students in early 2024. Just 35% of high school seniors showed proficiency in reading. That's the lowest number since 1982. Math scores even worse, with only 22% showing proficiency. That's the lowest number since the current version of the test began in 2005. Now, while some point to the COVID-19 pandemic as a potential cause for the lower numbers, the acting commissioner of the National Center for Education Statistics noted that the trend of lower numbers predates the 2020 lockdowns. And finally, New York Fashion Week kicks off tomorrow morning with a Michael Kors runway show. But the city's fashionistas are being shoved into the bargain bin by big brands hoping to make a big splash with really weird collabs. In February, everyone was talking about designer Emma Gage's Hidden Valley Ranch-inspired collection and Kate Barton's Goldfish Crackers handbag. Look, I love snacks as much as the next gal, but New York Fashion Week is like fashion fine wine, and you don't want it to be given $2 chuck. Sadly, if you thought Condiment Couture was the bottom of the barrel jeans, I have some bad news for you. The fall version will feature a cannabis concept story from Kalina Strada, where the clothes have discreet vape pockets, and a partnership between Veuve Clicquot and designer Jacquemus. Honestly, that one doesn't sound too bad, but it's just not what Fashion Week is about. It's not a NASCAR race. There's a place for that, but on a catwalk? Now, insiders are pointing fingers at mega agency IMG, who took over the whole kit and caboodle from the Council of Fashion Designers of America. As you might expect, IMG was looking to wring out every single cent of profit, where the OG organizers, at least based on their name there, were much more about the clothes. Honestly, though, the only thing I could afford coming out of Fashion Week would be packets of ranch and bags of crackers, so I don't know who I think I am here. And those ranch dressing pieces sold for like $1,000 a pop. I couldn't even get those. So if you want to see just how jazzy dressing can get, the pics are up on the New York Post. And don't forget, like and follow the New York Postcast wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. I'll miss you until tomorrow, friends.